John Thomas here from Nestpoint, political strategist. Hey, I just watched the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz interview on CNN, and I want to give you my quick recap from the interview yesterday about the big takeaways. I won't bore you with point by point about the interview. I think it was relatively a boring interview. I think Kamala did basically what she needed to do, which was do no harm. She showed that she is better than Joe Biden at getting through interviews. But the big takeaway I had here simplistically was she failed to come up with logical excuses and explanations for some of the fundamental foundational questions that every American is going to be wondering that may determine people's votes on whether or not Kamala passes a sniff test, such as why did you flip-flop and change your policy positions? I don't think she adequately answered that. She gave the my values haven't changed argument, but she dodged the position question. That's not going to cut it. And had Dana Bash from CNN given any logical follow-ups, she would have fallen apart. Another issue is, what about Joe Biden? Is he up to the task? What did you know and when did you know it? Either he's still up to the job, and why did you not get his back and convince him to stay in the game? Or he isn't up to the job, and why did you not sound the alarm earlier? She didn't answer that question sufficiently whatsoever. There were a couple other moments like that, and the big takeaway here for me is, during a debate, Donald Trump is absolutely going to exploit those glaring holes, even if his microphone is forced to be muted, which I think it does appear that they agreed to have muted microphones. Kamala's team was unable to come up with a coherent explanation for those basic questions, and I think it may prove fatal for her going forward. If I were to prescribe an answer, the best answer, I think, and there's not really a good answer, I think the answer she should have given, rather than my values haven't changed, is she should have said, I still believe climate change is an existential threat. I still believe, or I believed, and I was wrong, that fracking I thought was more of a threat than it was. But what I've learned standing next to this leader, Joe Biden, for the last 3 years, is that number one, I've learned that fracking isn't as bad as the extreme left portrayed it to be. And secondly, Joe Biden has taught me nothing, or anything. It is that moderation and coming to the center is the way you bring people to move the country forward. And so that's what I've learned from Joe Biden, and so I've evolved my position. But I think eventually we do need to move away from fracking with the Green New Deal and blah, blah, blah. But that's why I've changed my position. I think that's as sufficient of an answer as she can give. Now, the problem is, a sophisticated debater, and I'm not saying that Donald Trump will be able to execute on this, but a sophisticated prep Trump could eviscerate her on all of those points by saying something like, here's the issue. You are willing to flip-flop. You stand for nothing. The only reason you're changing your position now versus within the last 3 years is because now you're running for office. And the fact of the matter is, Americans can't trust you. And Americans deserve someone who is steadfast in their policy decisions and is willing to admit when they're wrong, but not just around an election cycle. And Donald Trump can then lean into his strength saying, look, when I came down that golden escalator in Trump Tower back in 2015, I got a lot of heat for my policy prescription on the border, which is, I said we need to build that wall. And I haven't broken from that since. And that's the kind of leadership that we need, not somebody who simply will say or do anything depending on when the political winds blow. I think he can actually deliver that message. Will he? I don't know. So my big takeaway from the interview is she has yet to understand how to answer these core questions. And I suspect that she and her team are unable to develop proper answers, and that may be her undoing as we go into the debate. So what we saw last night was a foreshadowing of perhaps some debate implosion. Thanks for watching, and we'll have more next time an update comes out.